Hello and welcome back to another episode of the News You Missed Weekly Recap. This is the news show where I recap all the weekly gaming news that was big into one podcast formatted video for you to catch up on. Don't be out of the loop, click subscribe today, and I do these every week. Be ready to click that like button, share my work, and let people know I exist. And I've already declared the winners of my Nintendo Switch monthly giveaway, along with the patron winners. So make sure to check into that if you support me there, or you're subscribed here already. Now without further ado, let's jump right into the news. I'm going to start out the gate with Nintendo Switch outselling the PlayStation 4 in Japan, despite launching 3 years later. This is a big story because a lot of people know that in Japan, the PlayStation 4 is very well known for JRPGs. This is why it's called JRPG. See, you get the J, Japanese, JRPG. I know, it's complicated. Took me a long time to get it. Nevertheless, the point is, Japan's very, very fond of game styles like RPGs, and the thing about it is that Xbox, it's kind of lacking on RPGs, but Nintendo is kind of the in-between there. Now, here's the thing. PlayStation is very much the king of RPGs over there. They have so many RPG games, so it's surprising that the PlayStation would actually be outsold by the Nintendo Switch. Now, a lot of people are saying it's because in Japan, mobile gaming is such a huge thing, whereas I would like to argue that a lot of people don't really necessarily have the time to play their Nintendo Switch. They work so much, and they're on the go here and there, but they're walking. They're not always riding buses or trains. Not really sure if the mobile aspect is really what pushed it over the edge. More along the lines of it's just a really, really good product, and it also happens to be mobile, which is an appealing selling point. And again, Nintendo was very famous in Japan. But to counteract that, the PlayStation 4 has a lot of rhythm games, which is a big, big thing, again, in Japan. If it were down to me, and it was my speculations alone, it would be more along the lines that the Nintendo 3DS is no longer being supported, therefore no new games for that is being released, which pushed a lot of people to invest in the Nintendo Switch if they did indeed have mobile gaming needs that needed satisfied. And a lot of rhythm games were on the Nintendo 3DS as well, which means if you were a gamer and you just liked rhythm games, you would have to again move over to a different device that was also mobile. So if you don't use your cell phone in that way and you like a dedicated gaming device, your only alternative would be the Nintendo Switch, because there is no more PlayStation Vita support, not really, and it didn't do that well to begin with. So that's what I think about it. You let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Nintendo's really killing it, there's no questioning that, but we'll be seeing a PlayStation 5 soon. Alright, so there's a free Pokemon beat-em-up mobile game that has been released. This is called Pokemon Rumble Rush. Now, I have yet to actually download it because I went and I checked on it in the Google Play Store. It's not there yet for me. It's supposedly coming out today, so by the time you're hearing this, it'll probably be on the Google Play Store. This is very similar looking to Pokemon Rumble, which I have played before, which is a very, very fun game. It's an interesting game, to say the least. It's a very simplified version of Pokemon itself and the battling system, where you have these Pokemon walking around and then you're knocking out Pokemon with either a basic attack or an advanced attack. And then those attacks there will go into damaging the Pokemon. When they're knocked out, you might be given a chance to capture the Pokemon, or they faint and give you money. And that's how the original Pokemon Rumble had kind of gone that I have played. So I don't know if this one will be much, much different, but it's apparently supposed to support iOS and Android. So if you need a free Pokemon game, go ahead and check into it. They do very, very good work with Pokemon games being on mobile devices. Detective Pikachu writer wants a Star is Born style movie with Jigglypuff. You know, I really like the Pokemon representation we're getting in the movies lately, but I don't particularly think this would be a good idea. If you have not seen Detective Pikachu yet, there is a real-life Jigglypuff, and it is horrifying. Oh my god, it is very scary. But at the same time, do I want another movie just being centered around Jigglypuff? I don't really think it would work out as well as Detective Pikachu did. it's good that the writer wants another movie, and I'm sure Hollywood would be willing to give him a chance. But this pitch would be very, very odd, to say the least. If you want to read into the article, you can, but there's really not much other than the fact that this guy just wants another Pokemon movie centered around Jigglypuff. And speaking of Detective Pikachu, they made $58 million in the opening week, which means it's the best video game adaptation movie to be debuted as of yet. Video game adaptations have done very, very negatively in the past, and Detective Pikachu did very, very well. I was thinking about reviewing it, so if you would like to see a Detective Pikachu review from me, you let me know. I really appreciate the movie, and I would highly encourage anyone who is slightly a Pokemon fan to go watch it. You won't be disappointed. Pikachu, Eevee, and more are dressing up for the upcoming Pokemon gacha figures. Yeah, so you guys know that you can buy these toys, these little toys. They're pretty cool. Well, apparently the Pokemon are being dressed up now, so you have like Pikachu and Eevee costume, Eevee in a Pikachu costume, some hats and stuff like that. They're pretty cool little figurines, so if that's something that you're interested in, make sure to look into that. We're going to move on to more Nintendo news, and Nintendo has a special offer. Save $19.99 on 2 games with Nintendo Switch vouchers. So basically, you could buy these vouchers right now, right? It's going to cost you $100, and you're going to be able to redeem them in the future as digital currency. The example they give is Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and Super Mario Maker 2, both being priced $60. Now you're saving $20. I am going to decline doing it myself because I do not like digital games. I like my physical cartridges, and that's how I am, and I will stay that way. I do it with discs too, so I have physical discs. But there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, a deal for you. Speaking of Super Mario Maker 2, it has a story mode. Apparently, Mario is going to be going through a bunch of levels that have been created, and by doing these levels, he's going to get coins in an effort to rebuild Princess Peach's destroyed castle. Seems like a winning combination to me. I really appreciate it. Now, of course, Super Mario Maker 2 is going to be for the Nintendo Switch and going to feature a lot of new updated mechanics and game styles, things like that. One of the biggest ones announced would be Cat Mario. Cat Mario! Ladies and gentlemen, if you did not play the Mario game that was on the Wii U that featured Cat Mario, you missed out on that. That was an awesome game, by the way, especially playing co-op. But you're going to be able to make Mario levels with that. If you did miss out on it and you just, you want to play around with that style, it's there. It looks good. It's a nice looking style, and I think it's a great addition to Super Mario Maker. Super Monkey Ball creator has no idea why the game was so popular. It's so funny, man. Personally, I wanted to gain experience by making Super Monkey Ball. Then it didn't sell locally. I thought, now we've done it. But then it took off overseas. Still, I honestly don't know why it sold so well. And then they went on and talked about it a little bit more. In the midst of that, Sega's president called and praised me, saying, "You really took the overseas market to account." And of course, I said yes, and then he laughed. It's funny because, when you make certain games, you're not really sure if they're going to do well. It's confusing. Hey, is this what the people want right now? One game that could be absolutely amazing in the future will do terrible in the present. Case in point, Earthbound. And a lot of people attribute that to the marketing that was done with it. But the point is, just because it didn't do good in the current time period you're in doesn't mean it won't do great in the future. So it's very confusing, and it's worrying when you develop a game and you put it out and you hope that it does well, and it does or it doesn't, and sometimes you just don't know if it does. So there you have it. Super Monkey Ball is a fun game. I talked about it before because we were talking about it potentially coming back and being renewed by Sega, so that's cool. If you guys are interested, make sure to check into Super Monkey Ball. Very fun game. You, again, won't regret downloading it if you happen to have access to it. So unfortunately, I have to shift gears into the reality of video games, and we have several generations of people who still do not understand video games, particularly esports. So this individual tweeted out, "In the latest episode of WTF is esports and WTF are video games doing on my TV featuring Overwatch League," and he shows some tweets about people who are very, very ignorant, beyond ignorant to how esports are and how esports work. Apparently, I need to pay attention to more life in general. When the hell did this Overwatch garbage take over a 3-hour time slot on ABC? Is this some kind of joke? Saturday afternoon in May, ABC has a video game competition on right now. My favorite part of it is that there is a color analyst. He can hardly contain himself. What a nerd. What a bunch of pathetic losers for you to waste your time over an effing video game. I can't believe my species has reduced to this cheap entertainment. I would also like to explain that on television they show such games as chess, which is not exactly the most exciting thing to watch in the world. They also have things like golf, which is not the most exciting thing in the world to watch, and canoeing. And in our educational system, teachers are paid $40,000 to $50,000 a year for doing some of the toughest work in shaping the young minds of the future. And there are basketball players out there who get paid millions of dollars to sit on the bench and play a couple games here or there. There's football players who get millions of dollars to do the same exact thing. Our world is not fair. But to sit here and talk about esports like you're really showing your age and your ignorance with these tweets, it is pathetic. It is dumb. Oh my God, what are these video games doing on my television? You know, like, seriously, you sound like an old man. Greeting, fellow youth, you know? That GIF applies perfectly here. You sound like old man, and you're using Twitter too. Get out of here. That trash has to go, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah, we're still living in an era where people don't understand video games. Shock. I know, they make like billions of dollars, but we can't understand it, can't fathom it. Riot Games tells Rick Fox's esports organization to remove an investor accused of bigotry. So there was a commission that investigated some bigotry comments, allegedly, I guess. And this ownership group wanted them to remove this investor because of it. Possibly, they wanted them to take the appropriate corrective action in 60 days. The story doesn't really go into a lot of this stuff, other than talking about making threats and using hate speech and stuff like that. So, once again, if you are involved in something publicly, like I said, the aforementioned tweets on Twitter, you need to make sure that... You need to make sure you're all in, because you could lose everything very, very quickly and very, very easily if you are not. Obviously, people see this and they do report it. So I wanted to go into the fact that 1UP Arcade has introduced a nice Mortal Kombat cabinet. Ladies and gentlemen, the games featured are Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3. I happen to have one, but unfortunately have not had the time to assemble it yet, just due to the fact that I work a lot. I work like 16-hour days, 3 to 4 days a week, so it's difficult. You don't really find the time to assemble arcade cabinets during those periods of time, but that's okay. I'm excited to assemble this and play it myself. The previous arcade cabinet that I had before, it's amazing. I love it. It has Rampage and all kinds of games. It's one of my favorite things I've ever had in my life. It's literally a dream come true, and now I have two. I'm gonna buy a couple more of these, so I'm extremely excited to be able to be playing this, and yeah, who knows, maybe in the future I'll have a barcade, but that's to be determined. So we're gonna go ahead and continue on. Just remember, you can get your own personal arcade cabinet. Anyways, I'm gonna move on. John Wick is apparently reported to come to Fortnite, so that's okay. There's a data miner who just found him with a damage-altering skin, so it seems like it's going to be a new game mode, like just a limited time game mode like Thanos in the game, but there you go. Nier Automata has also sold over 4 million copies and is still selling copies, which is awesome. This is a great game. I would strongly suggest that you check into it if you've never played it. Once again, I'm telling you, it's a very, very thought-provoking RPG of our era. One of the best RPGs I have yet to get involved in, and I think you guys would enjoy it greatly as well. After a long delay, Steam Link has finally supported Apple's iOS devices. Steam Link is a device that is just a tiny little box, very, very small, that apparently you can hook up and you can potentially stream your Steam devices from your PCs to a living room. It has support for USB controllers, and of course supports wireless controllers, Bluetooth, stuff like that. So it's basically to bridge the gap between people who like consoles and people who still want the power of PC, but to be able to use it in different locations. The advertising would be like the living room or something like that. But Steam is making note that you can do it directly to your iPhone or iPad or Apple TV, and you don't necessarily need any other device, which is cool. Now here's the kicker. I personally could never get it working. I had direct connections, I had plugged in directly, and I just could not get mine working. I've tried it 2 separate times with 2 separate devices, and it never worked for me. So if you use your Steam Link and you got it working, hey, maybe I just had some terrible luck and got 2 broken devices right out of the factory. Anyways, long story short, if you're looking to stream games, that's an avenue you can take. Hey, somebody put Undertale Sans fight in Fortnite, and it's hilarious. It's amazing. You might not like Fortnite, there's no questioning that, but a lot of people like Undertale, and I know a lot of people dislike Undertale as well. So Fortnite and Undertale combined would probably be someone else's worst nightmare. But for those who enjoy video games and don't really care what's trending and what's not, this is a pretty nice thing to check into. So somebody made a video about them doing it. It's a very wicked obstacle course in Fortnite. So again, check into it. These are cool things that people in the gaming community make, and I try to praise and promote people who do make really cool things. It's something that I try to do as a bigger channel, giving back to smaller channels. Finally, I want to close on this. The Genesis Mini is getting more games. That's absolutely awesome, and it's going to make you want to relive that 90s period of time where the Sega Genesis was one of the king of consoles. Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest thing is that it is getting Mega Man The Wily Wars. If you don't know about Mega Man Wily Wars, it's not exactly available on a lot of systems. It's very difficult to acquire this game because it was during a time period back in the 90s, and a lot of people don't really like to keep old consoles like that hooked up to their main TVs. So it's kind of become a relic of the past. But hey, it's going to be coming back on the Genesis Mini, which is awesome. It's very similar to how Nintendo did the Star Fox 2 thing for the SNES Classic. They're doing Mega Man Wily Wars for the Genesis Mini, which is going to be a Sega Genesis with tons of games programmed into it with HDMI support. Ladies and gentlemen, that'll conclude this episode of the News You Missed Recap. I hope you guys did enjoy it, and if you remember to stay signed in and you click that subscribe button, don't forget to like and share, because once again, it's the free and absolute best way to support this channel. I, of course, have Patreon if you'd like to support me over there more directly. Buy me a cup of coffee, buy me a beer, pay for my college loans. You know, it's just $10,000, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody has that. It's pocket change. I would really appreciate you coming back here next week so I can see your comments. I'll scroll through them, I might reply, and I might even like and pin your comment. I've been your host, Protomario, and I'm signing out. As always, good gaming, God bless, and I hope to see you back here next week.